Have you ever wondered what the key differences are between storing a brand new hypercar and a 60-year-old classic? For this episode, we've got our managing director, Tim, has joined me, and we're going to have a conversation about the differences in storing the beautiful Aston Martin Valhalla behind me, and in the background, you see a DB5. Let's get into it.
So Ali, new arrival, tell me about it. Anything different to the other cars we look after here?
Yeah, so we've got in front of us a Aston Martin Valhalla. So many of you will know this is one of 999 cars that are due to be built. The first customer cars are being delivered spring, summertime 2026. It is a hybrid vehicle, as of course many hypercars are these days. So it has a combustion engine as well as 3 electric motors, giving a total of in excess of 1,000 horsepower.
Wow.
So yeah, pretty serious bit of kit. It is slightly different to the things that we normally look after. Obviously, we have our Windrush processes, which involve checking on entry and exit from storage, a whole range of aspects on the vehicle, tyre pressures, fluids, general health of the vehicle and so on, and also monitoring those while it's in storage. But a car like this is a little bit more complicated. It has 2 different charging systems. You have the 12-volt starter battery, which operates a lot of the car systems, but also then the hybrid system as well. Both of those require charging. But interestingly, and this is where it's different to something like the Rimac, for example, it does not require the main hybrid charger on all the time. You simply have to have the 12-volt system plugged in and check from time to time, by which we as Windrush have decided is about weekly or every other week, checking that the hybrid battery is maintaining its charge and if necessary starting the car up and giving it a little bit of a boost.
Interesting. So the hybrid battery only charges from the engine?
Correct, yes.
Right.
There is, I believe, a way of doing it by separate cable as well, but for the purposes of storage, we do not need to have it on a hybrid battery charging system at all times.
On the sort of electronics and the brain of the car, to your knowledge, does it talk back to Aston Martin HQ? Does it tell it like a heartbeat or anything like that?
It's a very good question. I know the Rimac, which we've got as well, I mean, that definitely does have a link back to Rimac headquarters, and they send software over the airwaves. This car, not as far as I'm aware. What is interesting, again, on the sort of care side of things, is how, this car is very heavy on its battery. So the 12-volt, the reason the 12-volt needs to be hooked up all the time is because it's got lots of ECUs and other systems that are kind of running in the background almost all the time. And it is something that needs to be monitored in order to keep the car in health. And
is that 12-volt charger, is that a dedicated special Aston Martin charger, or is it a CTEC charger? Is it an Aston branded CTEC charger?
You'd think it would be bespoke. It's not. It's a Aston branded CTEC with the magnetic 12-volt connector, like many of the vehicles in the facility.
Which, from memory, that's interesting. I mean, from previous discussions where we've had CTEC down here, they've explained to us that we're told there's not just a sticker on the CTEC charger, that there's a certain brand that might be appropriate, so whether it's a Ferrari or Aston Martin, but CTEC engineering behind it or physicals, that they changed the battery charging mapping in there. I mean, we'll take their word for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's entirely possible that is the case for this one, but as far as we're aware, it's a standard, 12-volt.
I mean, I'd love to see the engine on this thing. Is it actually possible to open it?
Obviously, this is relevant to what we'll come on to in a minute, but this, unfortunately, is one of those cars where it's very tricky to access the underlying mechanicals. You've got visible, mechanical features.
Yeah, I can see the inboard suspension there. Now, can we look at that? Is that
no? It's all sealed up, not to be touched. And again, I think this is an interesting point, because we, as part of our proactive storage approach, we are trying to do as much as we can for the clients and the vehicles while they're here. The more modern and sophisticated and high-tech these vehicles become, the less there is for us to do other than call Aston Martin down and ask them to plug it in if there's a problem. And we have seen issues with cars like this. They're very, very complicated machines. You will see electrical faults, and it feels like you're dealing with a computer rather than a car. Examples of cars like this that have had those kind of issues, Rimac, the LaFerraris, even they can be quite complex to look after as well.
Let's go and have a look at one of the predecessors to this Aston, where it started in the early days. Yeah. So here we've got a Aston Martin DB5, famous from the Bond the Bond films that we know, so it's often, you do feel like James Bond driving it, I've got to admit. It's feels quite special and gets a lot of admiring looks on the road. Very different technology. You can open the engine bay and look at the engine.
They do get sat for long periods of time. So obviously we've got the storage fuel option, but what is the issue with, if they haven't had new fuel put in and they're left for long periods of time?
It's hard to say exactly when, but I think it's probably the last 10 years where ethanol has been introduced into pump fuel. Certainly very common now. So you've got your E numbers when you go and fill up the car. So your higher octane fuel will have an E5. That means it's up to 5% ethanol, or the E10 is your standard petrol. That's up to 10%. That's fine in a fuel injected car, but we find that with the classic cars, they're very sensitive to ethanol. First of all, all of the rubber fuel components, so fuel pump diaphragms, fuel hoses, they were never designed to have ethanol in, and the ethanol is very aggressive on those rubbers and plastics. They can perish them. Ethanol also absorbs moisture, so it's less of a problem in storage because we're dehumidified. But again, prior to us, we don't know how that car's been kept, maintained. We don't know how old the fuel is in the car. Freshness of fuel is a big thing. And again, I could talk till the cows come home about this. And again, it comes down to experience. A really good sort of solution to this is the sustain. Fuel stabilizers work to a certain point. They slow fuel degradation down. And it sounds like, we've got shares in Sustain. We don't. It just works. It's a zero ethanol fuel. You put it in the car. It has an extremely long shelf life. I think we're told it's got a design shelf life of 5 years as a minimum. You go to the car once that's in there and it fires straight up. Whereas,
which, as we know from experience, is not always the case with these.
Well, exactly, and that's where quite often it's carburetor setup, but more often than not, when these won't start or are reluctant to start, it's when the fuel has gone stale.
Yeah. What else would you say? Obviously, we talked a bit about the modern car. What, by contrast, the DB5 things to look for other than the fuel situation? Presumably, all the tyres are older, generally speaking. You've got to keep an eye on the pressures.
Yeah.
Sat for long periods of time.
Modern cars have got much smaller sidewalls, so the tyres are generally a lot stiffer, much less likely to flat spot. Older cars would have cross-ply tyres. Not so common now. Most of these will be on radial tyres. Radial tyres will less likely to flat spot anyway, but we overinflate the tyre pressures because you've got much bigger sidewalls. That'll reduce flat spotting. So effectively the tyre deforming where it sits on the bottom of the ground. But we have a keen eye for looking for date stamps on tyres. These cars are 50, 60 years plus old now. Yeah. The maximum length of a tyre should be 10 years. Even if the tread is fine, even if it looks fine, the rubber gets old.
I was going to mention batteries as well, because for the older cars, we always isolate.
It sounds like we're talking about this car a lot more than that one, but there is an awful lot of expert knowledge and little tips and tricks. Really good point. The batteries on both of these are equally important. On the more modern Aston, they're incredibly voltage sensitive, so maintaining those batteries is critical. On these, they tend to have, well, number one, you've got a 6-cylinder, big, heavy, lumpy engine. Starter motors are not that efficient. Some people have upgraded the starter motor to a more efficient, faster turning starter motor, but the starter motors tend to be the original or replacement, same design, but they turn the engine over very slowly. Spoken at quite length on the classic Aston, but you're more familiar with the more modern one. Tell us about the similarities between looking after and storing them.
Of course, this comes down to our storage process. We apply the same fundamental process to the cars, whatever they are, across the business, be it London, Cotswolds, a car that goes out once every year to once every week. We'll apply the same process. Fundamentally, these cars require similar things. We've talked about how they are very different. This one is significantly more advanced and complicated, clearly, but the basics are the same. We need to check every aspect of the car as best we can when it comes in, before we put it into storage, and the same when it's prepared for the customer, be it on short notice or if the customer's booked a week in advance. We will check the tyre pressures, we will check the car's electrical system, the battery, either through the dashboard on the Aston Martin because it's so complicated, or using our battery tester on the older car. We will make sure that the car's fluids are topped up, oil, washer fluid, all those sorts of things. The last thing we want is the client taking the car out and finding out that something is deficient that we could have picked up. So actually, Although the cars themselves, generations apart, are very, very different, and this one is significantly more sophisticated in many respects, the process is very much the same. Check the same basic features for both cars before they leave us.
Irrespective of, really, we're comparing two Aston Martins here, but it doesn't matter what car it is, what value it is, they all get the same exacting sort of treatment. So thorough check on entry, a dedicated space with its own charger on it. We're maintaining the environment here, the security here. We're doing daily walkarounds, not differentiating between which car we prefer. We might have different views there. We don't believe in tiers in service. Doing anything less than we do, whether it's modern or old, we feel would be detrimental to looking after the car.
Okay, so we've talked about these two different vehicles, one very modern, one much older, and they're very, very different, of course. However, what hopefully is clear is that actually caring for them, the fundamentals of those things are the same, and the way we approach it here at Windrush is the same. If you'd be interested to see a how-to store a hypercar or classic car video, please do let us know in the comments.